Grandpa Mohammed's story, the wisdom of life and its opposites. On a peaceful afternoon, Grandpa Mohammed sat under a large palm tree in the garden, surrounded by his grandchildren, both young and old. They eagerly awaited a new story, knowing that Grandpa Mohammed's tales were always filled with wisdom and life lessons. With a deep breath, Grandpa began. Today, I'm going to tell you about something remarkable in our lives, something we encounter every day, without exception. I'll talk about the experiences we all go through, which are made up of opposites, like joy and sadness, sickness and healing. I'll also explain how these things are mentioned in the Quran and how we can see them in our daily lives. Joy and sadness. Grandpa Mohammed started his story with a warm smile. My dear children, in life, we sometimes feel extreme joy, just like when you receive a gift or succeed in school. This joy is a blessing from Allah, and He mentioned it in the Quran. فَيَوْمَئِذٍ يَفْرَحُ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. 4. Because joy comes when we do something good and successful. Joy makes life feel bright, like everything around us is smiling. Taking a deep breath, Grandpa continued, But, my grandchildren, there are also times when we feel sadness, just like when we lose something we love or a dear person passes away. This sadness is natural. Allah created life with balance, and this balance means that joy and sadness go hand in hand. Without sadness, we may not truly appreciate joy, and without joy, we wouldn't know how to handle sadness. Grandpa looked at one of his grandchildren and said, Do you know that scientists have discovered that there are substances in our bodies that make us feel joy? These are called serotonin and dopamine. These chemicals are released in our brains when we do something we love, like playing or eating delicious food. But when we worry or feel sad, these chemicals may decrease and we start to feel down, just like flowers bloom in the sunlight and wither in the shade. Joy in science and the Quran. Grandpa continued with a more educational tone. Did you know that scientists have discovered that these chemicals, serotonin and dopamine, are responsible for making us feel happy and content? These chemicals are released when we do enjoyable activities, like spending time with family, eating our favorite foods, or playing. It's amazing how Allah created our bodies to experience joy through these natural processes. He added, But when we feel sadness, it's like the sun is hidden behind clouds. We might think the sun is gone, but we all know it's still there, shining behind the clouds, just like joy remains within us, even when we experience sadness. He then explained, Imagine, my dear children, just like flowers need sunlight to grow and thrive, joy and sadness are part of the cycle of life. In the Quran, Allah mentioned both emotions to show us balance. In Surah Al-Najm, He says, وَأَنَّهُ هُوَ أَضْحَكَ وَأَبْكَى. This means that Allah gives us both joy and sadness, each at its right time, for reasons we may not always understand. Sadness as a part of life. Grandpa Mohammed gently continued, trying to help his grandchildren understand sadness. My children, sadness isn't always a bad thing as some may think. In reality, sadness helps us grow and learn. When we lose something or fail to achieve a goal, we learn patience and how to face challenges. Without sadness, we might not fully appreciate joy. It's just like how we don't realize the beauty of the day until we experience the night. He looked at his youngest granddaughter, who was listening closely, and asked kindly, Do you remember when you lost your favorite toy? You were so sad, weren't you? But later, when you got a new toy, you felt even happier because you learned how to value things more. Grandpa then added, looking at the rest of his grandchildren, In truth, sadness can make us stronger. Allah teaches us through sadness how to face difficulties and overcome them, and sometimes sadness is an opportunity to get closer to Allah and ask Him for strength and patience. Conclusion. At the end of his talk about joy and sadness, Grandpa Mohammed said, My dear ones, joy and sadness are two inseparable parts of our lives. Just as the body needs both day and night, the soul needs moments of joy to shine and moments of sadness to learn and endure. Always remember that Allah is with us in every moment, whether we are in joy or sadness, and both teach us something important. He smiled at his grandchildren and said, That's all I'll share today about joy and sadness. In the coming days, we will talk about sickness and healing, and how illness and recovery are part of Allah's wisdom and mercy. Stay tuned for the next story.